Wagyu beef. The Rolls-Royce of meats. The creme de la creme of steaks. The kind of beef that has people mortgaging their homes just for a single bite. This isn't your average grocery store steak. Oh no, Wagyu is the meat that every foodie dreams about while chewing on their sad, flavorless chicken breasts. But as with anything that's been hyped to the stratosphere, Wagyu beef isn't without its faults. In fact, for all its pomp and circumstance, there are more than a few things that have us asking. Is this melt-in-your-mouth, wallet-draining beef really worth all the fuss? Well guys, let's find out, because today we're digging deep into Wagyu beef, literally and figuratively speaking. Sorry to interrupt, but somewhere a Wagyu cow is living a better life than you. Change that, click subscribe. Thanks. The price tag. Alright, let's start with the most obvious issue here. Wagyu beef costs more than some people make in a week. I mean, sure, it's good, but is it really that good? Do you really want to pay $200 for a steak that, let's be honest, is about the size of a deck of cards? They say you're paying for quality, but when the bill comes, it feels like you're also paying for the cow's college tuition and therapy sessions. Seriously, unless this steak is gonna come with a side of eternal happiness, it's a little hard to justify dropping that much money on a single meal. For the same price, you could probably buy a new wardrobe, a weekend getaway, or a year's worth of mediocre steaks at your local butcher. So unless you've got cash to burn, or you're trying to impress someone, you might want to think twice before ordering that Wagyu. Is it really that special? Wagyu beef has been hyped so much that you'd think eating it would lead to a spiritual awakening. The marbling, they say. It melts in your mouth, they rave. But let's be honest, the way people talk about Wagyu, you'd think it was sprinkled with some magical beef fairy dust that gives you superpowers. Well, it's not. Yes, it's tender, and yes, it's fatty. But the way some people wax poetic about it is borderline ridiculous. At the end of the day, it's still just beef. Delicious beef, sure, but is it worth its reputation as the best meat on the planet? The hype has gotten so out of control that you could probably serve someone a regular piece of steak and tell them it's Wagyu, and they'd believe it. The real magic here might just be in the marketing. Wagyu wrapped in gold. The ultimate flex or just plain stupid? Wagyu wrapped in gold. Because apparently eating the most expensive beef on the planet wasn't quite expensive enough. Someone out there thought, you know what this steak needs? Edible gold leaf. And now, here we are with restaurants offering Wagyu steaks wrapped in gold as if it's the food version of a sports car wrapped in chrome. Sure, it looks fancy, but let's be honest, you're paying hundreds of dollars to eat something that tastes like absolutely nothing. Gold has zero flavor. It's literally just for show. So, unless you're trying to flex for Instagram or live out your secret fantasy of being a food-loving pirate, this trend is one expensive way to eat like royalty, with none of the substance. Wagyu and Salt Bae, the $1,000 sprinkle of pretentiousness. Salt Bae. Because, you know, apparently, the world needed a guy to sprinkle salt with more drama than a soap opera. But when you throw Wagyu beef into the mix, hold on to your wallets, folks, because you've just signed up for the ultimate display of unnecessary theatrics. Watching Salt Bae slice that Wagyu in slow motion, while he dramatically flicks salt off his elbow like it's stardust, somehow makes people think they're dining in the presence of culinary greatness. Guys, come on. The real magic trick here isn't the perfectly marbled Wagyu. It's making you believe that sprinkle of salt was worth an extra few $100. Give me a break. Bite. Wagyu versus Kobe beef. You've probably heard people throw around the terms Wagyu and Kobe beef like they're the same thing. Nope, they're not. Wagyu refers to the specific breed of cattle, while Kobe is a type of Wagyu beef from the Hyogo Prefecture in Japan, specifically from cows raised under stricter guidelines than your average beef. Yet in the US, every time someone bites into an overly marbled piece of beef, they call it Kobe, like it's some magical meat from the heavens. Newsflash: if you're eating Kobe beef at your local chain restaurant, you might want to check your facts. Or, at the very least, your wallet. Actual Kobe beef is rarer than a sighting of Bigfoot in a tuxedo, so if someone offers you a $20 Kobe burger, you're probably just eating an overpriced patty with a fancy name. The marbling. Fat with a side of fat. Let's talk marbling, which Wagyu enthusiasts love to harp on about. Wagyu beef is famous for its intense marbling, and while that might sound all luxurious and buttery, let's not forget what marbling actually is. It's fat. So much fat that sometimes you have to wonder, is there any actual meat in there? It's basically like eating a steak that's been slathered in butter, except the butter is inside the meat. Sure, it gives the beef a melt-in-your-mouth texture, but it can also make you feel like you're chewing on a stick of lard. If you're a fan of lean meat, Wagyu might just send you into cardiac arrest, both from the fat content and the price. Not to mention, after a few bites, you start to feel a little queasy from all that richness. Imagine eating a pound of foie gras, except you also had to sell a kidney to afford it. The production process: cow spa day or cow prison? Wagyu cows are treated like royalty. Some say they get massages, are fed beer, and listen to classical music. Sounds like the dream, right? Well, the truth is a little less magical. Yes, Wagyu cows are raised with extra care, but that whole massage and beer thing? Mostly marketing myths. It's true that these cows are often given high-quality feed and more space than your average beef cow, but they're not exactly living the five-star life that the rumors suggest. In fact, many Wagyu cows are confined to small spaces for much of their lives to help develop that prized marbling. So, while it's not exactly the cow spa you might have heard about, it's still far better than the conditions faced by factory-farmed cattle. That said, when you're paying hundreds for a steak, you probably want to believe that the cow lived better than you did. The portion size you're paying for a snack. Guys, let's get real for a second. Wagyu portions are ridiculously small. You're paying an arm and a leg for what essentially amounts to a bite-sized steak. Why? Because it's so rich that restaurants only serve you a sliver, claiming that a little goes a long way. But come on, no one orders steak because they want a snack. When you order steak, you want to feel full, not like you're still hungry for dessert. Instead, you're left with a tiny portion of beef that, while delicious, leaves you wondering if there's a burger joint nearby to fill the void. The idea that you're supposed to savor every bite is nice in theory, but when those bites are gone in 3 mouthfuls, it feels more like a cruel joke than a gourmet experience. Wagyu knockoffs. Welcome to the meat scam. So, you've finally decided to treat yourself to some Wagyu, only to discover that what you're eating might not even be the real deal. Enter the world of Wagyu knockoffs, where restaurants and butchers slap the Wagyu label on any fatty piece of beef they can find. In fact, a lot of the Wagyu sold outside of Japan isn't even pure Wagyu. It's often crossbred with other cattle. And yet, they'll still charge you Wagyu prices for it, banking on the fact that you probably won't know the difference. This makes ordering Wagyu a bit of a gamble. You could be eating premium Japanese beef, or you could be eating a fancy-looking steak that's been artificially fattened up to look the part. It's like ordering a designer handbag only to find out it's a cheap knockoff. American Wagyu, the imposter syndrome. Then there's American Wagyu, which is kind of like Wagyu's American cousin that always wanted to be part of the family but never quite fit in. Sure, it's still delicious, but it's not exactly the same. American Wagyu is typically a crossbreed between Japanese Wagyu and American Angus. So while it has more marbling than your average steak, it doesn't quite reach the same melt-in-your-mouth levels as the real deal from Japan. But of course, that doesn't stop restaurants from charging top dollar for it. Because hey, it's still got Wagyu in the name, right? It's kind of like the difference between buying an iPhone and an Android that looks like an iPhone. It'll still make calls, but deep down, you know it's not the same. Too fancy for its own good. Wagyu has become so fancy that it's basically the food equivalent of wearing a tuxedo to a barbecue. You can't just eat it. You have to have a whole experience. The steak is usually served on a fancy plate, drizzled with some kind of artisanal sauce, and presented like it's a masterpiece in the Louvre. God forbid you ask for a side of ketchup. You'll probably get kicked out of the restaurant. The people serving Wagyu are more impressed with themselves than they are with the actual meat. Look, we get it. It's fancy beef, but at the end of the day, it's still just a steak. Do we really need all the pomp and circumstance? Just cook it, serve it, and let us enjoy it without the food snobbery. Wagyu and the pretentious foodie culture. Speaking of food snobbery, let's talk about the foodies who treat Wagyu like it's the holy grail of all cuisine. These are the same people who use terms like umami in casual conversation and probably have an Instagram account dedicated to close-ups of their meals. When they talk about Wagyu, they're discussing fine art at a museum. Oh, the marbling is simply divine. The mouthfeel is unparalleled. Meanwhile, the rest of us are just trying to figure out how to eat this thing without needing a second mortgage. Wagyu has become the unofficial mascot for food snobs everywhere. If you haven't eaten it, you just don't understand food. Cooking Wagyu at home, a high-stakes gamble. So, you've somehow managed to get your hands on some Wagyu, and you've decided to cook it at home. First of all, good luck. Cooking Wagyu is like playing Russian roulette with your wallet. One wrong move, and you've ruined a $100 or so piece of meat. There's no room for error here. Too hot, and you've just turned luxury beef into expensive shoe leather. Too cool, and it's a raw, gelatinous mess. Not to mention, Wagyu's so rich that you can't really cook it like a regular steak. You need to be a wizard in the kitchen with the precision of a surgeon to get it just right. Otherwise, you might as well have set your money on fire. The health factor? Delicious, but at what cost? Sure, Wagyu is delicious, but it's also basically a heart attack waiting to happen. The same fat that makes it so tender and tasty is also the reason why you might want to keep a defibrillator nearby. Look, we're all for treating ourselves, but there's a reason why you don't see people eating Wagyu every day. It's not exactly the poster child for a heart-healthy diet. So, while it's great for a special occasion, you might want to think twice before making it a regular thing, unless you enjoy testing the limits of your arteries. Wagyu burgers. Why even bother? Yes, the Wagyu burger. Because why settle for a $10 burger when you can pay $50 for one made with beef that's probably too good to be ground up in the first place? Seriously, turning Wagyu into a burger the same as buying a Ferrari and then using it to make grocery runs. You're taking something rare and luxurious and turning it into something ordinary. It's a waste of good beef. If you're going to splurge on Wagyu, at least eat it the way it was intended, as a steak. Grinding it up into a burger just feels wrong. Plus, let's be honest, most people wouldn't even be able to tell the difference between a Wagyu burger and a regular burger. So why bother? The gimmick factor. Wagyu everything. And these days it seems like everyone is jumping on the Wagyu bandwagon. Wagyu sliders, Wagyu tacos, Wagyu sushi. If you can eat it, someone's figured out how to slap the Wagyu label on it and charge triple the price. But here's the thing, just because it's Wagyu doesn't mean it's automatically better. Slapping some fancy beef on a taco doesn't make it gourmet, it just makes it expensive. And don't even get me started on Wagyu sushi. Look, I love sushi and I love steak, but can we agree that those two things don't belong together? You don't mix caviar with a hot dog. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should. Wagyu beef tallow. The fancy schmancy fat you didn't know you needed. Wagyu beef tallow, because apparently we're not just satisfied with eating the meat, now we need to smear and insert its fat all over everything like we're auditioning for a high-end cholesterol experiment. Honestly, what's the deal with slathering everything in Wagyu fat? You can find it in everything from French fries to skincare products. Yes, skincare. Nothing says luxury like moisturizing your face with glorified cow grease, right? You know what this burger needs? An extra coating of fat on top of the fat. And everyone just ran with it. Don't get me wrong, Wagyu tallow fries are delicious, but are we really going to act like deep frying potatoes in regular oil was such a tragedy? The exclusivity factor, a club for the wealthy. Let's face it, Wagyu has become the food equivalent of a luxury yacht, something that's reserved for the wealthy elite. Sure, you could try it, but good luck finding a place that serves it without requiring a small fortune. And even if you do, it's not like you're going to be eating Wagyu every week unless your name is Jeff Bezos. For most of us, Wagyu is something you try once, take a picture of, and then brag about to your friends who have never had it. It's the ultimate status symbol in the foodie world. Something to check off your bucket list, but probably not something you'll experience on the regular. Wagyu and the environmental impact. As if Wagyu beef didn't already have enough baggage, let's not forget the environmental impact of raising these cattle. Wagyu cows require more feed, more water, and more resources than your average cow. So while you're enjoying that delicious buttery steak, just remember that it came at a pretty hefty environmental cost. With the world becoming more eco-conscious, you have to wonder how sustainable the Wagyu craze really is. Is it really worth the toll it's taking on the planet? That's a question every Wagyu lover needs to ask themselves before diving into that $200 steak. So, Wagyu, worth it or overrated? So there you have it, Wagyu beef, the most overhyped, overpriced, and overly fatty meat on the planet. Is it delicious? Absolutely. Is it worth the price? Well, that's up for debate. Whether you're a die-hard Wagyu fan or someone who'd rather stick with a regular steak, one thing's for sure. Wagyu has taken the world by storm, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon. So, what do you think? Is Wagyu worth all the hype, or is it just another overpriced fad? Let us know in the comments below. Oh, and guys, don't forget to subscribe.